Hey guys, this is Ty with Tycam.
And this is Ashley Miller, founder of Koi3.
And this is Series of Conversations.
Woo!
Listen, guys. See, she's so off today. She's like, hey guys, none of that today. None of that. Let me actually figure out what's the podcast.
No, it's because I'm like so out of my element right now, you guys. You know, Mother's Day is coming up. Or, well, Mother's Day would have passed by the time this comes out.
Oh, yeah.
I came to visit the fam, and now I came over to my aunt's uncle's house, and my great aunt is here too, and had her help me. I did a baking session with her because I love her coconut bread. So I came in my uncle's man cave to do my podcast. And before I was like talking to Ty, I was like trying to situate everything around to make sure it looked appropriate. So sorry, y'all. I'm a little out of whack right now.
Listen, and that's exactly like when you're out of your space, that's exactly how it feels. So I totally understand. And listen, I was just being patient, Ashley, because, you know, sometimes I'm the one who's late.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just like, wow, I haven't seen this in a long time.
I know. And you know what's so funny is it's funny you even talk about like when you're out of your space. It's so weird now being like when I come to visit like Orlando, because I guess I just adapted more knowing that like my home was in New York. But now that I live in Miami and I know it's not that far away, I just feel so much more out of my element now. Like I just feel like, oh my God, all my stuff is at my house, or I'm here, I'm there. I don't know. It's like, it's weird. It's a weird feeling. I'm so happy for it that, you know, I'm not so as far anymore, but it's weird.
It's also, I think it's like, because when you were going down, it was like vacation. So yeah, your mind is not thinking about like, oh, I have to do these things at home or this.
No.
But like home is like a few hours away and you're like, yo, I could go home and get it right now, but like I'm out of my whack.
Exactly. So, but it's good. It's good. I love it.
It's good. But yeah, no, guys, we've been having guests on our podcast. I would think Ashley and I figure this out. We always get into this space where we have back-to-back guests and we're like on this, you know, this high, and then it's like, oh no, we got to come back down and have the, you know, Ashley Ty time.
Yeah, so. I know. I think that's what it is. Sometimes we just miss having the conversations between each other.
Yeah.
But have been so happy for all of the guests that we have had and the ones that we have lining up for you guys. It's really been just amazing to see our progression and even what we started to be very intentional about this season. And that was to really get stories out of other people and their amazing whatever journeys, brands, stories. And it's been great to hear. And, you know, for me especially, it's just been very motivating to just listen and get the tea and get the information, you know?
Same. It feels like that whole networking space that we always talk about. But we could just go right into the topic of conversation. And this is an interesting topic. And I'm definitely going to let Ashley take the lead on this one. But it's called the attachment quiz. And, you know, guys, you know those quizzes that we normally do online just because we're in either a new relationship or we just want to do a quiz because we're like trying to figure out life. Like I've taken quizzes all the time, but I'll talk about it later. But this podcast is about the attachment quiz, and Ashley and I did our research, our back work. You know, we did the quiz. And Ashley's gonna start off and talk about like how she thought of this topic.
Yeah, so it's crazy. When we were thinking about a topic, the first thing that kind of came to mind to me was I go to therapy every week. And last week, my therapist, shouts out, you know, I don't even know if I'm supposed to say this, but I'm gonna say, shouts out to Miss Jackson, because she just
hold on. Well, we'll talk about this offline.
Yeah. she's the GOAT. Okay. This lady gets me right every single week. And so last week we were talking about codependency. And you know, I should have had my notes up, but I didn't. Oh no, we put them in our we put them in our notes. So when it comes to codependency, what it is just the relationship. It's a concept that characterizes like how your relationships are, whether they're romantic, platonic, with your family. It's just how you interact with those people in your lives. And usually codependency means that you're really attached to people, relationships, and that can enable you through, you know, addictions or like just making you feel like you can't do without that person. And so it's just gauging those types of relationships. I personally, I'll be very transparent in this time. The reason why we were talking about codependency is I just have encountered and uncovered that I deal with it within my relationships. And as I've been growing up, I've been growing more with the boundaries, setting boundaries, as well as just understanding that I don't have to be there all the time for someone, or I don't have to like stop what I'm doing in order to feel that I'm validating someone or a family member, friend, whatever. And I think when you understand what your relationships with the people around you, it will actually balance you out, because then you're not feeling resentment if you feel like you team too much, and then you'll understand why the person ain't team too much for you, or just like really that self-care of yourself. Or I say all the time, the boundaries. It's like sometimes we won't put enough love and stuff into ourselves, but then we will go and do it for other people. So oh, you wanted to say something? Sorry.
No, I was listen, because we're going to talk more in depth about this when we get into the podcast, but I was just like we'll talk about it more in depth when we get into the podcast.
Okay. So she definitely told me, what I want you to do, my assignment was to do the attachment quiz. And she said, you can Google one, like there's not a specific one necessarily that I would like you to do. But what the attachment quiz does is it kind of gives you a style of the way that you handle your relationship. So the way that your attachment is. So you might be distant, like I don't want to deal, or you might be like, no, come here, I don't want to lose you ever, you know, or a mix, because your girl is a mix.
Your girl's a mix, and I honestly did not think that as well, but I was actually surprised about this kind of quiz. And I think for like quizzes like this, it's like I was talking to Ashley about it like the day we planned to do this podcast, and I was like, these quizzes, like if anything, it's kind of like a check yourself kind of thing. It's not really telling you exactly, like it can't really it doesn't really know you exactly, but it kind of could tell you how you're feeling at the moment. And the attachment style Ty before COVID versus now definitely changed. Like if I took this quiz a while ago, I think I would have definitely chosen different answers. And it was a really short quiz, guys, but just looking at
even like what you were saying too about like these quizzes obviously are not giving you all the answers of life, but I love like sometimes having a gauge, because like you said, Ty before pandemic versus Ty now, same as me, it's different. And sometimes if you see certain things spike in your life, then you're able to adjust. I know we talked about before some of the other tests that we have taken, our quizzes, and I know I took the love language that everybody talks about. I can't remember. I might have to do it again before I get like a serious relationship again, because it'll be good to know what mine is.
Exactly. No, because I was gonna say, like if it's like you do it this week or whatever, because you also know what you expect or what you want from your partner in those relationships. I think I've taken the love language test twice, and my results definitely have changed. And of course, I've taken them over the span of like, years. And I honestly like think it's something good to gauge before you even get into a relationship, because then y'all two in a relationship and it's like, okay, our communication is off. I don't know what you want. I don't know what you need. And then it's like, what's going on there? But like, even with the attachment style quiz, I was very like surprised, because I was like, like some people could be like, okay, on a scale of attached or not, that's how I am. But there's like different levels to it that, it opens our eyes to things. I think that's one thing that Ashley was telling me, was that like, it's going to open our eyes to new things. It's not exactly going to tell us how we are, but it's going to open our eyes to new things. And while taking the test, it's like, you could also be attached to your family. Like,
well, that's one of the biggest things for me is the family.
I'm
like,
attached.
Oh, that is the Wycliffe and Chelsea.
That's a brand right there for you. But no, listen, it's like mine is very unhealthy. Like even with the thought of like, I've definitely been thinking, there's something that's in the back of my head of like moving out of town. And with those thoughts, I start getting to this fear space. But when I talk to them, it's like they don't need me. But let's go into our results, because like I did not think about it, but now thinking about it, I'm like, oh, I might be the obsessive, crazy person. And they don't care, not like they care about me, but they're like,
it's not like they like, girl, go
up to my level.
It's okay. We got this.
Listen, but how do we start with these results? Okay.
You want to start with what yours were?
Okay, yeah. So
do you want to get a gist? Maybe like tell them a little bit what the questions were, just a little bit. I know you probably, because I don't remember all of them.
I don't remember all the questions I had, but I know.
Well, you know what? Look, I'll make it even easier. So what there was the theory of the attachment was.
Where you read it from? Oh, sorry.
I'm reading from the website.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm not reading my results yet. So the 4 types of attachment styles that they talked about was fearful avoidant, which is, do you often flip-flop between hot and cold, sometimes confused on how you feel towards your loved ones? And then anxious preoccupied, do you feel afraid of your loved ones pulling away and constantly seeking more closeness in your relationships? And then there's dismissive avoidant, which is like on the other scale. And do you find yourself fearing being pressured in your relationships while often craving independence and freedom? And then I guess there's like that middle ground or whatever, which is the secure. Do you find that you can effectively communicate and feel vulnerable in your relationships? So it was like the fearful of avoidance, and then it's like that anxious and preoccupied, thinking like, oh my God, someone's gonna leave me. Or it's like a dismissive avoidance where you're just like, nah, I'm good, fam, like give me my space. Or like you're secure, you're good.
Good question. What was your highest score?
Let me get the picture.
Okay, because I could go into mine, but I think this was the space that I was confused about. And guys, we're working this out on the podcast, but
no, it's good. So
I didn't know if it was supposed to add up to 100% or if it was just on a scale of.
I think it's a scale. It's a scale from like 100, not like it's a full 100.
Okay. So I'm a little.
So like from a scale to 1 to 100, I'm 38%.
Okay.
Fearfully avoidant.
Okay.
What are you?
I'm 29% fearfully avoidant.
So going back to fearfully avoidant, this is when you may flip-flop between hot and cold, sometimes confused about how you feel towards your loved ones. And I think that happens in our lives, because especially where we're at too. We're trying to figure out our independence from like being with our family, and not even just family, but loved ones and people in our lives. Like I think I know, and you can speak on like your maybe take on this specific one. But for me, like that's even the part of me moving here too. It was like at first I went away because I was like, I got to go. Like girl got plans and goals, and then things happened, and I was just like, nah, fam, I need to be by y'all. Wait, pandemic is.
And it happened in a span.
And, but just even with friends and seasons, it can change because you could be so independent of things at one point in time, and then be very fearful and flip-flopping and confused. And I think the reason why that was my highest one was 38%, and that was the flip-flop. And I think it just comes from maybe in my time now that I'm in a season where I'm trying to figure some stuff out. So it's like I'm good, but then I'm like worried about certain things. So I think that's maybe where that came from right now.
For me, that was not the lowest. That was like in the middle for me. But I got 29% on that one. And I feel like for me in terms of like loved ones, so I have my loved ones near me, close to me. And then my partner that I'll just say my boyfriend.
Girl,
shut up. But I was gonna say something crazy, but I was like, let me stop.
But my sugar. Okay, sorry.
my sugar, like I'm gonna call my dad. He's gonna be like, what? But I think that's probably the only area that sometimes I get, like in that space of not confused about how I feel towards my loved one, but like actually saying those words. And I think that was like more in the beginning of that relationship, but now it's like more natural because it's like you start considering that person as family. But in terms of how I feel like if I have love for you, just thinking about friends and family, like is there like at this point, I'm not really at the hot and cold stage. So that question was kind of scary for me, but I could definitely see like if I took this a year ago or even, I would be fearfully avoidant 100% because I'm always, listen, I could like, not even the word loved, but I could like have so much love or, like for you. And then the next day I'm like, even with girlfriends, I'm being straight. I could like, be so hesitant, but I think it has definitely changed because of COVID and me appreciating people more. So, I appreciated people in the past.
No, but
I just appreciate
true.
people more.
Like we said, it's like seasons to it. So
Exactly.
And stages, because like you said,
exactly.
in your relationship when it first started out, it was like, all right, like
listen, you're trying to figure it out.
I care for you, but and it's being able to manage those type of styles of attachment and
exactly.
How are you going to handle that? Are you going to run away from it? Or are you going to try to at least hear it out, feel it, be observant, and then deal with it in that way?
And I have something to say because like in the beginning of all types of relationships, even when you're talking to somebody, this is something that the attachment style quiz just kind of put in my head. We don't want that person to know that we're actually kind of like, even guys, they or other people, they don't want you to feel like or know that like, yo, I am kind of getting attached to you. So it's like initially you don't want to tell the person like, oh, I want to see you every single day, I need to talk to you every single day. So you're trying to hold your guard up, so you're basically being fearfully avoidant at that point. You're like, do I tell them that I want to see them more than once a day or once a week? But and it's good to know those things so you could kind of know what to expect from the person. But like,
I think you brought up a good point with that one though, because I think sometimes we don't realize that there may be even a healthy balance of all of them, where like when you're starting out, you're not going to be necessarily all in, or maybe you have learned in the past being all in can be too much. So you like, let me scoot to the little distance a little bit, because that might help us out in the long run. So
girl,
okay, so we had a little bit of the I was about 10% more, but
listen, we took it at different days. I could if you took it yesterday like I did, it could have changed.
So let's see. Okay, so the next one is anxious, preoccupied, and that's, do you feel afraid of your loved ones pulling away or constantly seeking more closeness in your relationships? And so I was at 31%. Where were you at?
I was at 33%. That was my highest. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I think this really talks to, though, even where we're at in our lives with the pandemic, because it said, let me just go back. It's saying, do you feel afraid that your loved ones are pulling away or constantly seeking, or you're constantly seeking more closeness in your relationships? And I think that has a lot to do with where we're all at in our lives, where it's like, you just never know if someone's going to pass. Let's be real. COVID, like it's made you feel like, I think for me, life is too short. Sometimes I'm just like, okay, I gotta enjoy my family. I gotta enjoy my days. Because you never know, and you don't want to think like that,
I think this space is definitely something that just pops in my head like often, from thinking from like relationships to friendships to like family. I think even when I'll just say on the podcast, when all of us in our house, not all of us, but some people in my house tested positive for COVID. And it's like, in the middle of the night, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to go check on this person to make sure they're fine. And that gets very, scary, because it's like I think that's like just dealing with COVID, but just thinking of how, like some people like in our house, they were just like, I'm not going to talk to anybody because I'm going to stay in my space and stay quiet. And it's like, that's not the way to handle stuff, but that's the way I believe, we shouldn't handle stuff. It was kind of a weird and scary space to be in, but imagine people that have been like that all year, and people that have had families in the hospital. So that's one aspect. But for me, I think that I think that has something that I've always sought in a relationship. And when I'm actually in one and I sense it happening, I'm like, my mind goes to like everywhere, because it's like, why is this person pulling away? What's happening? What, like, am I causing it? And then you're like, just like it says anxious, preoccupied, I'm like getting anxious just thinking of these thoughts. And the funny thing is like, yo, if you just talk about it, you could probably get some clarity in terms of how you feel. And if, sometimes it's just not easy. Like, I'll be straight. It's hard. One of the things is about communication, and that's one of my weak points too. But yeah, it's an interesting topic. Or yeah.
Yeah. No, I would even say, going back to how you put it in perspective of beyond COVID, you
Mm-hmm.
know, a lot of us have dealt with, and I mean, this is more pinpointed, I think, to what my therapist was even kind of talking to me about, is like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we'll take past situations, traumatic situations, exes, all of that, and then you're scared that you're going to relive what you did before. And so
Mm-hmm.
you may just get into these anxious thoughts of like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna do the same thing, and then the guy's not gonna like me, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna speak my truth, and da 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 da, or just like feeling the fear of. I mean, that was a battle I dealt with the whole time I lived in New York. Every single
Mm-hmm.
time I left, I about cried. Like, but that's where the balance kind of comes in, is I knew
Mm-hmm.
I had to be in New York for that season.
Yeah.
So even though every time I came to Florida and saw my family and friends and left and was like, oh my God, I really
Yeah.
don't want to leave, I knew that I was called to be in New York. So I
Mm-hmm.
had to do the balance of, being able to know that I was called somewhere and
Mm-hmm.
that I can take the time to go see those people, but being so anxious and obsessed, and because look at this.
Girl.
This is how it would be. What if I just sat in Florida because I was like, nope, I can't leave my
Whatever.
family, I can't leave my friends,
You would
because
never met Ty.
I would have never met Ty. We would never have series of
Listen.
conversations. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we're not even gonna talk about my career
The
in
other stuff.
styling. I
Yeah.
mean, the things that I have gotten and had experiences with, the people that I have met because I took the
Mm-hmm.
leap of faith,
Hmm.
I will never ever like regret any of that.
Yeah.
But was it hard? Yeah, it was hard to leave my friends and
Definitely.
family and stuff like
Hmm.
that. But I met so many more people and brought so much to my life. So within
That's
that anxious state, it's like
yeah.
you gotta really evaluate what it is that you are worried about when it comes to your
Mm-hmm.
relationships or fear, because you could be potentially
Missing a
making your
blessing.
life stagnant if you just stay
Yes.
in something.
Listen, even me would think like thinking thoughts about eventually leaving New York or how it would feel. I think
Yeah.
it's harder for somebody like it's kind of like going through what Ashley went through the first time she, left. And we'll see what happens, but it definitely is something that has, run past my head. Like, we'll see what happens. I'll just keep it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll just keep it like
It'll
that.
definitely it will be nerve
Girl,
wracking.
I'll be bawling. I'm gonna have boogers out my nose. I'm gonna be crying.
No,
And
you
it's
will be,
yeah,
but it will make you so much more independent
exactly.
too. And they always say, what is the heart grows fonder, time makes the heart grow fonder. So your
You think
family,
I'm
you'll
gonna miss
come
New
back.
York? I'm
I'm
like,
telling you, no, I'm telling you, you'll come back, you'll be having home cooked
girl.
meals. Like the love will be so good because mommy and daddy, when they see me, it's like celebrities here for like one day.
One day, and then that's it. You're like all that lovey treatment is gone. Listen, but when I go on vacation for like 3 or 4 days and I come back, everybody they miss me. So I know, oh my gosh, months they'll be begging me to come home. But
Yes.
let's go
Okay,
to
so let's go to the next
dismissive.
one. All right, so dismissive avoidant. Do you find yourself fearing being pressured in your relationships while often craving independence and freedom? So I already knew, because I just know how I am, that this was going to be low on the totem pole for Ashley Miller.
I
It was
wanna know
8%.
8. Damn, that was low. That was low. Hold on.
Just such a loving, like, want to be by people. Yours was higher. I know it
No,
was.
mine's is 19. But the funny thing
Okay.
is like what is in a way I crave independence because
That's what I was thinking about for you.
but that yeah, because I crave independence a lot and freedom. I'm like very carefree in that kind of aspect. And even like, before I was single, I was like Yeah, there was nothing like, don't hold me down. Like, that was one thing. But I think I tried to create that space of independence and freedom in those relationships. So I don't think I have that fear. Like, even the idea, because I know some people think about the idea of like marriage or being in a just being in a like in a relationship. They're like, I won't be tied down. And I think I'm with you on the same page of like, yeah, I love, but I'm still gonna have my like, and I think you're a part of the same crowd too, in terms of like, yo, you still gonna have your freedom. I'm still gonna do what I want to do. The independence is one thing. Like, I think that's one thing that I've always like. There's this Nigerian mentality. My mom is like, growing up, I used to try to stop saying this to her because like I used to get mad, but she'd be like, "Oh, when you move into your husband's house," and I'm like, "Listen, I ain't moving into
I'm moving to my house.
No husband house.
My house, house.
It's not gonna be no. Yeah, and I used to get upset about that, and I think that was something that was embedded to me from young, that I don't want to be like that traditional kind of.
Yeah.
And listen, I don't care if you listen to pot. Let me stop. But that's something that I want for myself. I want to be able to feel independent, feel free, and also still be able to thrive and have a happy relationship. But
I totally agree. And I think, hold on, Auntie Mabel. She's doing it on purpose.
Yeah, Ashley's in a different location, guys, as we said.
I'm here with my like aunt and uncle, but then my great aunt, who's like a grandmother, and she's trying to play with me right now, y'all. She knocking on the door. She know what I'm in here doing, and I'm like, she just want to be on somebody's camera. So she can't. Anyways, so no, I definitely feel you on that, because even though my percentage for the dismissive avoidance was like low, I think it comes from a part of like just me always I'm such a family person. Like I'm such a like a want to get together with people. I'm always trying to see. I'll come to like, because I live in Miami now, but my family lives like Orlando and Tampa. I'll be all up and down Florida, seeing this person, that person, making sure I see everyone because it's just who I am. But I do agree with you that when it comes to the independence part, it is very important for me, especially my career-wise and my creative mind. I have to have spaces to be able to do those things, and I can't necessarily be locked down with like a one-dimensional type of looking at things. I have to be able to express that and build in that way. And I think that going into like styles of relationships and stuff like that, it's important. Like we always said, we loved going to those different like CCNYC or any of those types of networking events in New York, because it was like we did our day-to-day jobs and our full-time jobs, but then we went and we met with relationships with like-minded people that also loved like a creative outlet, and we were able to feel that part. So it's definitely important to like have those types of relationships as well.
No, definitely. And I think one thing I wanted to add while you were saying that is like, even when Ashley and I used to go to things together, we would always like sometimes like, okay, separate and do our own things, because it's like, I remember even one time Ashley and I we saw each other at a party. I remember that day. It was like, you were lit. So I ran into Ashley at a party and we like, listen, she's like, let's not talk about those. But no, it was nice because it's like, you know, you see and I think this is just a physical representation.
Oh, you're talking about when we went for the summer, we were at that party together?
No, we didn't go together. I think I ran into.
Oh, you ran into me. It was like outside.
Yeah,
I don't think it was everything. It was like what's that one that they
some Adidas brand.
Labor Day all the time?
Was it Labor Day? I forgot what it wasn't an Everyday People one. No. That one was a fun one too, though. But that's listen. We had some days, but hopefully we have some more in the future.
We will.
But yeah, I just remember just like physically being together and then being able to, you know, be independent, and that's in all types of relationships and all aspects of life. So that's really cool. But let's go into the last one. So
the last one is secure. You know, no insecure over here. Wait, why am I so confused on what I'm saying? Do you find you can be effectively Why am I?
Do you find you can affect? Oh no! Do you find you can effectively communicate?
There should be a comma or something.
Yes, or something in there.
Go ahead.
But no, it is improperly written. But okay, do you find that you can effectively communicate and feel vulnerable in your relationships?
Yeah.
So I could go first on this one.
Yeah,
I got a 19% again. I think that was kind of definitely wrong. Actually, hold on. That's actually good, yeah, because I don't feel like I could effectively communicate and feel vulnerable in some of my relationships. I'm being honest, even with
now, what
my
do you think?
girlfriends.
Now, what do you think that you're not effectively communicating on, or like not specific topics, but like what? Like, are you not telling your feelings? Like,
I think it's my feelings and also setting boundaries. Sometimes I feel like I wait too long, and then I'm like, I have this, and it's like, homie, you should have said that on day one, or you should have said that when you initially felt that way. Even in the dynamic of Ashley and I's relationship, I definitely held things in, and then I bladder it out, and then it's like, yo, why you didn't say that before? But I've had that in many of my relationships, and that's one thing that I think over time I learned that that's my personal issue, and I have to find ways to figure it out. And one thing that I've been doing is like, if I ever feel it, I have to always take time to internalize it, but I can't sit on it too long. If it's more than a month, at that point, it's too old. Don't bring it up. But I think it's always good to, like, what I'm learning now is like, if I feel some type of way, I bring it up as soon as I can, because there's no point. Even with my mom, like sometimes she can say something the day before and I'm like, how am I going to deliver this to her the next day? I'm like, yo, mom, you made me feel A, B, and C. No, but it's sometimes it just has to be that way. So that's just me. But yeah, how about you?
No, so I was, I guess, around the same because I was 23.
Okay.
I definitely think I don't communicate the best, but I'm on the other spectrum of I talk too damn much. Like, because I'm very emotional. Mm-hmm. I try what I will say is that my journey of communicating more effectively has definitely gotten better from like being younger or just like, you know, in the years. Mm-hmm. And I try to do like you said, where it's like instead of waiting to the last minute, speak on it. But what I try to work on now is listening to people, because you need to listen. And, you know, even with you sometimes I'm like, let her get out what she's saying. Even though I'll be like, yeah, and then listen and then say. But just in my life, because I've held stuff in so much before, now I'm like, y'all not gonna play me. And I don't want to hold it in because my anxiety might heighten, or I'll just get into a mode that like prevents me from being productive and effective. So I'm like, let me just get it out. But there is a part of the communication that has to happen where you're able to speak and hear people, as well as knowing when to maybe communicate, because I've also learned that sometimes that wasn't the best time. And those are things that I fear, like in relation, like when I do get into a relationship, I want to be able to, you know, I know things happen, but I want to be the best 100%. Partner that I can be, and like hear them out, and you know, them hear me out. So yeah.
No, you actually, and I love that you said that, because it's not like sometimes I think one thing that a lot of us learn is that sometimes like the right place is not to work on in those relationships. Like sometimes it's okay to work on it on the spot, but sometimes we got to actually work on those on our own to come into, like, I think of even some friendships that I had to, like, we had to part ways for us to come back to even be stronger. So things like that happens, even relationships too. But this was actually really helpful. And I, like, again, some of these questions, like even looking at the secure one, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not even a 19%. I'm even, you know, lower than that. But I think these questions and these prompts definitely give us thoughts to think of, and also gives us like steps of how we can improve things. Because even hearing Ashley, like Ashley and I could have got the same scoring, but totally two different spectrums.
Yeah.
So that was really insightful, and yeah, I'm glad that we did this.
Yeah, no, it was definitely great. Shout out to Miss Jackson, because she definitely, she is the GOAT. But I think if anything, and you can say maybe your 2 or 3 takeaways from it. The takeaways for me were not even about the percentages. It was more so looking at why the percentages were where they were based on what the definitions of those categories were. And, you know, with any type of attachment style, I think that I talked about this before, there are times when you may be a little bit more distant because of boundaries, or you may be a little bit more caring for that person and making sure that they're okay because of whatever. So it's not about being greater than the other. I think ultimately what I've learned, especially in therapy, and I'm not a therapist and this is not like any type of diagnosis or anything, but I think that it all goes down to boundaries. We're going to all have times where we're going to be overly caring about a loved one or a friend or something, or we might back off and be like, look, maybe we all need our space. But it's when you continuously do only one of those and you don't set boundaries for yourself to take care of yourself and put yourself ultimately first, because like we always say, if you can't take care of yourself, how are you going to be there for anyone else? And I think that that's genuinely what I've gotten out of it, is that it's okay to have any of these things, but it's just, what are you doing to make sure that you are worth? Because when you put all of this energy in other people and then you're mad because they like, you would have did this for them and they ain't doing it for you, or you didn't do that, or whatever the case may be, it probably you need to observe and look and see, what are you doing? Are you even taking care of yourself first? So
yeah, no, I was gonna say you closed the podcast out perfectly. But no, I'm serious. That was a good closing. But the last thing that I definitely want to say is, like, even though the numbers to me were like, I was like, oh, that's not that accurate, or it's like I should have been higher or lower. I think that was one thing. It's a scale, it's a test. You know, some people don't perform well on a test. I'm not the best test taker as well, but I definitely want to say that this quiz made me think a lot, in like a lot. And I remember when Ashley definitely told me to take the quiz, and she was like, it doesn't focus only on relationships. At first I was like, no, these questions are definitely focused on relationships, like, you know, like what is it, romantic relationships. But then it, like, looking more in, like, I think going deeper into the questions, I was like, no, this is like relationships and interaction all across the board, coworkers, friendships, people that you meet and, you know, meet to part, what that whole verbiage. But I definitely took a lot of things away from it. And this is something, like, again, I say we should all, you know, just check in sometimes. Like, these are conversations that a therapist could definitely ask you. So it's kind of nice being on that, like, personal kind of therapy guide, like, session. And that was really a great experience. And I'm glad that we did this, and we'll probably do different ones in the future.
Yeah, I definitely think we should do more of them.
I actually do.
It was cool to, like, really see what and see what each other's was gonna be. And like I said, I think it was a gauge, and we'll drop the link as well if anyone's interested. But right now the website you can just literally Google the attachment style quiz and it will come up. It's part of the personaldevelopmentschool.com. But we will definitely put in the link in our YouTube, as well as in our SoundCloud, Spotify, all that stuff. Yes. And you will get it. But I encourage you guys to take it too, because you may find out that you're a little too clingy.
Listen,
maybe you're a little too distant,
or you're too independent. Now you can be independent all you want, but listen, listen, like, come on. But thank you guys so much for listening to our podcast. We have a next one coming in 2 weeks. And should I drop the deets?
Yeah, sure.
So you guys can follow. Well, first of all, watch us on YouTube. We're now on YouTube. You can see our beautiful faces live. So watch us on YouTube. You can also follow us on Instagram at Series of Conversations. You can follow me at Taikem, TAIKEM.
And then you can follow me, Ashley Michelle Miller, and shouts out because I actually just dropped my official new site for my wardrobe styling. So check it out. I am here for all your services and really help those to just uncover their unique style that is authentic to who they are. We ain't trying to copy and paste and make you look like nobody else. We're trying to make you look like you. So check out ashleymichelle.miller.com. And then, of course, check out Koi3, which is my lifestyle brand. And that's at KOI_THREE. And this is Series of Conversations.